What if the next recession doesn't hurt you the way the last one did? While everyone around you is panicking, cutting back, and watching their savings disappear, you're the one who stays steady. Not because you got lucky, not because you earned more, but because years ago, quietly, you built something recessions can't touch. Most people don't lose everything during a downturn because they didn't work hard enough. They lose it because they built the wrong foundation. The people who come through every recession without losing sleep didn't see it coming any earlier than anyone else. They just had 7 habits already in place before the storm arrived. And those habits kept working, whether the economy cooperated or not. Let's get into it. Everyone knows they should spend less than they earn. It's not complicated advice. It's not new advice. Most people reading a personal finance book for the first time encounter it on page 1, nod their head, and then go home and do more or less exactly what they were doing before. Because knowing it and doing it consistently, month after month, not just when you're motivated or when things are tight, those are 2 entirely different things. And the gap between knowing and doing is exactly where recessions do their damage. Here's what that gap actually looks like. The first of the month comes, and you have good intentions. You tell yourself this is the month you finally get ahead a little. Then something comes up. It always comes up. The insurance renewal, the birthday dinner you didn't plan for, the weekend that got away from you. And by the time the month closes, the number is about where it always is. Not a disaster, just not progress. And that pattern, repeated for years, means that when the recession arrives, and it always arrives, there's nothing underneath you. No margin, no room, just the next paycheck, which is suddenly not guaranteed. There's a woman named Ruth who lived outside Nashville her whole life. She worked in a school cafeteria for 22 years. She never made what anyone would call a comfortable salary, but she went through the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 shutdown without borrowing a single dollar from anyone. Not a bank, not a family member, not a credit card. When a colleague asked her once how she'd managed it, she said something that stuck. She treated the gap between what came in and what went out like it was her actual salary. Not what was left over. Her actual salary. That gap, however small, was hers. Everything else was just the cost of living. What Ruth understood, and what the people who always seem to have money understand, is that the habit isn't about the amount, it's about the consistency. Spending less than you earn by $50 a month without ever breaking that rule builds something that spending less by $500 some months and nothing other months never will. Consistency compounds. Inconsistency cancels itself out. Write down 2 lists tonight. On the first list, write every expense that stays the same every month. Rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, any regular bills. On the second list, write everything that changes. Groceries, dining, entertainment, shopping, anything that varies. Add both lists up and subtract the total from what comes in. Whatever that number is, that's your real gap, not what you think it is. What it actually is. A lot of people do this for the first time and find the number is smaller than they imagined. Some find it negative, which explains a great deal. Either way, you now have the real number, and you can only work with what you can actually see. People who manage windfalls retire early. People who can't manage a paycheck never retire at all. But spending less than you earn is only half of what keeps people standing when recessions hit. The other half is something most people only think about after they've already needed it. And by then, the only tool they have left is one that costs them for years afterward. Most people start saving for emergencies after the emergency. The car breaks down and they put it on the card and they tell themselves they'll build up a buffer now that they've seen why they need one. Then life settles back into its rhythm, and the buffer stays at the same number it was before. Not because they forgot, but because there was always something else. There was always a reason to wait 1 more month. And then the next emergency comes, and the cycle runs again. The buffer never gets built because it never gets built before it's needed. and it's very hard to build it while you're still paying off the last time you didn't have it. Think about the last time something broke down unexpectedly. The appliance, the car, the medical bill that came out of nowhere. That moment, the split second between realizing what happened and realizing what it was going to cost. Most people over 45 know that feeling in their chest. The quick calculation: do I have it? What do I move around? What do I put off? That calculation is not just stressful in the moment. Every time you go through it, it costs you something, in sleep, in clarity, in the quiet background anxiety that starts to feel like just the way things are. It doesn't have to be that way. There's a passage in The Richest Man in Babylon that doesn't get quoted as often as some of the others, but it may be the most practical thing in the book. Arkad is teaching a group of men, and one of them asks why the city of Babylon has never fallen, why across centuries of wars and upheaval the city itself has always stood. Arkad points to the walls. The walls of Babylon, he says, were not built when the enemy arrived. They were built long before, stone by stone, year by year, in the quiet times when there was no immediate threat. That is what made them real protection. A wall built in a hurry, when the army is already at the gate, is not a wall. It's a gesture. Your emergency fund is your wall. And like the walls of Babylon, it only works if it was built before you needed it. The common advice is 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's the right destination. But if you're starting from zero or close to it, that number can feel so large that it becomes paralyzing. And a goal that paralyzes you doesn't get started. So don't start there. Start with 1 month. 1 month of your basic fixed expenses: rent, utilities, insurance, groceries. That's it. That's the first wall. It won't protect you from everything, but it will protect you from the most common emergencies. The ones that currently send people straight to a credit card and cost them twice as much by the time they're paid off. Log into your bank today and open a second savings account, separate from your regular account, somewhere you don't see it every day. Give it a name if that helps. Then set up an automatic transfer. It doesn't have to be large. $25 a week, $50. Whatever won't break anything. The amount matters less than the automation, because automated savings happens whether you feel motivated that week or not. And motivation is not a reliable building material. A calm decision made before the crisis is worth 10 panicked decisions made during it. Now, saving and protecting what you have, those are the habits that keep you from going backward. But the people who don't just survive recessions, the ones who actually come out ahead, have something else in place that most people overlook entirely when times are good. They never let everything depend on a single source. And once you understand why, you'll never look at your paycheck the same way again. If you're still here, you're already ahead of most people who clicked on this video. A lot of them left in the first few minutes. You stayed. Comment recession proof below right now. Not as a formality, but because it tells me and it tells you that you're taking this seriously. The next 2 habits are the ones that separate people who survive recessions from the people who actually use them to pull ahead. Don't go anywhere. 1 job, 1 paycheck, 1 employer who can, on any given Thursday afternoon, call you into a conference room and change everything. That is not a financial plan. It is a single point of failure. And for years, decades, sometimes it works fine. The check comes in, the bills get paid, life moves forward. And then one day it doesn't, and the entire structure that was built on that single source reveals itself for what it always was. Fragile in a way that was invisible until the moment it wasn't. Most people don't think about this until the layoff notice lands, until the industry shifts, until the company gets acquired and the new owners have their own people. And in that moment, that specific moment when the ground moves, the people who had only one source of income realize something that can't be unrealized. They weren't building financial security. They were renting it, one paycheck at a time, from someone else's decision. That realization, arriving at 51 or 55 or 58, is one of the most disorienting feelings a working person can experience. Because the years were real, the work was real, but the foundation underneath it all had only one leg. There's a principle that runs through Jewish financial wisdom across centuries, one that predates modern portfolio theory by about 2,000 years, but describes the same idea more plainly. The Talmud teaches that a person should divide their wealth into 3 parts: 1 part in land, 1 part in commerce, and 1 part kept liquid. The specific categories are ancient. The principle is not. Don't put everything in one container. Not because any single container is necessarily unsafe, but because no container is guaranteed. The families who rebuilt after persecution, after displacement, after losing everything in one country and starting over in another, they understood this not as an investment strategy, but as survival wisdom. Spread what you have, not out of fear, out of clarity about how the world actually works. You don't need to build a second income overnight. You don't need to quit your job or launch a business by the weekend. What you need is a start, something small and real that puts money in your hand from a source other than your employer. It could be a skill you already have that someone else would pay for, a weekend service, something you make, something you know how to do that takes an hour and earns $20. The amount doesn't matter yet. What matters is breaking the psychological grip of the single source, proving to yourself in a concrete way that your income is not entirely in someone else's hands. Before you spend any time this week on things that don't move your life forward, sit down with a blank piece of paper and write down every source of money currently coming into your life. Not what you wish was there, what is actually there right now. For most people, that list has 1 item, sometimes 2. Then write down 1 thing, just 1, you could realistically add in the next 90 days. Not a plan, not a business model, 1 thing, a tutoring session, a piece of furniture you could refinish and sell, a skill you've been doing for free that someone would pay $50 for. Just 1 thing. Because 1 thing started and finished, it becomes proof that more is possible. And that proof changes everything about how you see your own options. 1 income is a job, 2 incomes are a business, 3 incomes are a foundation. But here's something that trips people up every time. They start building, they get a little momentum, a little breathing room, and they don't notice the quiet leaks that are draining everything they're working to build. Not the big expenses, the invisible ones. The ones so small they never feel worth addressing. Until someone does the math. Now here's the habit I promised you at the beginning, and I want you to pay close attention here because this is the one that surprises people most. Everyone talks about growing money, the investment strategies, the compound interest charts, the retirement account maximization. That's where most financial conversation lives. And all of it matters. But there's something that happens before any of that can work that almost nobody talks about because it isn't exciting. It doesn't have a good chart. It doesn't feel like progress when you do it. But the people who always have money, the ones who come through recessions without scrambling, they do this consistently, and it protects everything else they've built. They find the leaks, and they close them. Not the obvious expenses, not the mortgage, or the car payment, or the grocery bill, the invisible ones, the subscription that auto-renewed 14 months ago for a service you stopped using. The bank fee that comes out every month is so small it never triggers a second look. The insurance premium you've been paying for 5 years without ever checking whether a better rate exists. The streaming service the kids set up 3 years ago that still charges every month, even though nobody in the house remembers the login. Individually, none of these feels like a problem. Collectively, they can add up to more money leaving your account every month than most people spend on groceries, and not a dollar of it is buying anything. Benjamin Franklin kept a small leather notebook for most of his adult life. It wasn't a journal in the emotional sense. It was a ledger. Every penny that came in, every penny that went out, was written down in his own hand. People who've studied his financial life have noted that Franklin wasn't wealthy because he earned exceptional amounts. For much of his early career, he earned what a skilled tradesman earned. What set him apart was that he knew at any given moment exactly where every dollar was going. He once wrote that a small leak will sink a great ship, and he didn't mean it as a metaphor. He meant it practically, as a man who had spent years watching small, unnoticed expenses quietly hollow out budgets that looked solid from the outside. The ship looks fine. The leak is below the waterline. You only find out the damage has been done when the water is already rising. Here's what to do, and it takes about 15 minutes. Open your bank account and your credit card statement from last month. Go line by line, not quickly, actually line by line, and mark anything that recurs automatically. Subscriptions, memberships, annual renewals, service fees, anything that pulls money without you actively deciding each time. Make a list, then ask yourself for each item. Did I use this in the last 30 days? Would I miss it if it were gone tomorrow? If the answer to both is no, cancel it today. Not this weekend. Today, while you're thinking about it. Most people who do this exercise find at least one thing they'd completely forgotten about. Many find 3 or 4. The money those cancellations free up isn't dramatic, but money that stops quietly leaving is money that starts quietly staying. And money that stays is money that can eventually work. Growing money is exciting, protecting money is invisible, but invisible is where the real work happens. And once the leaks are closed, once you know exactly what's coming in, what's going out, and why, the next trap becomes visible. It's one that catches people at every income level, at every stage of life, and it's most dangerous precisely when things are going well. Because it doesn't feel like a trap at all. It feels like a reward. If you've made it this far, something is different about you. Most people who start a video like this are looking for a shortcut, a trick, something that works by next Friday. You're still here because you understand it doesn't work that way. And that understanding, that patience, is actually one of the rarest financial assets a person can have. The next 2 habits are the ones that show up in how people live every single day, in what they buy and in what they choose to invest in when nobody's watching. Stay with me. There's a kind of debt that doesn't feel like debt when you take it on. It feels like progress. It feels like you've arrived somewhere, like the years of working and waiting have finally earned you something visible. A nicer car, a bigger house, the vacation that used to be out of reach. And for a while, it feels exactly right. The problem doesn't announce itself. It just quietly restructures your entire financial life around a higher floor. A new minimum cost of existing that you now have to meet every single month, whether the economy is cooperating or not. Most people have lived this cycle without naming it. You get a raise, and within 6 months the raise is gone, absorbed into a slightly better version of every category of spending. The apartment became a house. The used car became something newer. The occasional dinner out became a regular habit. None of it was reckless. Each individual upgrade seemed reasonable at the time. But the cumulative effect is that 10 years later, you're earning significantly more than you were, and somehow not much further ahead. Because every time the income went up, the lifestyle went up to meet it. And the gap, the all-important gap between what comes in and what goes out, stayed exactly the same. There's a story from ancient Persia about 2 merchants who traveled together for 30 years, buying and selling along the same routes, staying in the same inns, eating at the same tables. They started with equal means and equal ability. When they were young men, they earned roughly the same. As the years passed, one of them, every time he earned more, bought more, a better horse, a finer robe, a larger home in the city. He told himself these were investments in his reputation, that the appearance of prosperity would bring more business. And for a while it did. The other merchant kept his horse until it was old, kept his robe until it wore through, kept the same modest room at the inn they'd always used. Every time he earned more, he set aside the difference and let it sit, then let it work. By the time both men reached old age, the first merchant had a life full of beautiful things he no longer owned outright. The second merchant had nothing to show and everything to live on. The trap isn't the upgrade itself. The trap is upgrading everything simultaneously, without leaving any of the increase behind. Because once the lifestyle expands, it almost never contracts willingly. People will cut from their future before they cut from their present. They'll reduce what they're saving before they reduce what they're spending. And that instinct, completely human, completely understandable, is precisely what leaves people exposed when the recession arrives. And the income suddenly has to stretch across a lifestyle it was never really supporting. Try this with the next raise or any increase in income that comes your way. Split it before you spend any of it. 50% goes to exactly what it would have gone to before. Your regular life, your regular expenses, maybe one intentional upgrade you've been planning. The other 50% goes somewhere it can't easily be reached. A retirement account contribution increase. A separate savings account. An investment you've been putting off. Not because enjoyment isn't allowed, but because the version of you 5 years from now will be grateful that the version of you today didn't spend the entire margin. Every single time. Lifestyle inflation is silent. Wealth deflation is loud. You only hear one of them until it's too late. But even if you've managed the lifestyle trap, even if you've kept the gap intact and let money accumulate, there's still one place where people quietly lose ground during a recession that has nothing to do with their bank account. It has to do with what they know. And more specifically, with what they stopped learning the moment they felt like they'd arrived. The safest asset you will ever own is not in any brokerage account. It cannot crash overnight. It cannot be seized in a lawsuit. It doesn't lose value when inflation rises or markets drop. It goes with you into every room, every conversation, every opportunity, and the more you develop it, the more it compounds. It is what you know how to do. And for most people over 45, it's also the asset they've been most neglectful of for the longest time. There's a specific feeling that sets in somewhere in your 40s or 50s, a quiet sense that the learning phase of your career is more or less over. You know what you know. You've been doing what you do for long enough that it comes naturally. The younger people at work are still figuring things out, and you're the one they come to when something goes wrong. That feeling is earned. But it carries a hidden cost. Because the world doesn't stop changing, you've stopped updating. Industries shift, tools change. The skills that made you indispensable 15 years ago can quietly become ordinary or obsolete without anyone sending you a memo about it. In the Gospel of Matthew, there's a parable that gets quoted most often in financial circles for one reason. But there's a second lesson in it that doesn't get enough attention. A master leaves on a long journey and gives 3 servants different amounts to manage while he's away. 2 of them put the money to work. It grows. The third, afraid of losing what he was given, buries it in the ground to keep it safe. When the master returns, the 2 who grew what they had are given more responsibility, more opportunity, more. The one who buried his, kept it perfectly intact, lost nothing. Has it been taken away entirely? Not because he spent it, because he let it sit. Skills work the same way. The ones you stop using don't stay where you left them. They quietly decay. And the ones you keep developing, keep putting to work, keep stretching past what's comfortable, those are the ones that make you recession resistant in a way that no savings account ever fully can. Because in a recession, what gets cut is what can be replaced. The person whose skills are current, specific, and hard to replicate doesn't get cut. The person who has spent 5 years doing the same thing the same way, without updating anything, is the one whose position suddenly looks optional. Pick one skill this month, not a vague intention, one specific thing. It could be something that deepens what you already do, a certification, a tool, a process you've been meaning to learn properly. It could be something adjacent, a capability that would make you more useful in a different role if your current one disappeared tomorrow. It doesn't require an expensive course, a library card, a free online resource, 30 focused minutes 3 times a week. The point is not to become someone different. The point is to make sure that what you already bring to the table keeps being worth bringing. Because the people who come out of recessions with better options than they went in, they didn't find those options during the recession. They built them quietly, in advance, during the years when nobody was asking them to. Skills compound like interest. Neglect them, and they decay. Feed them, and they multiply. There's one habit left, and it's the one that quietly holds all the others together. The thing that the people who always have money seem to share, regardless of what they earn or where they live or what the economy is doing. It sounds almost too simple when I describe it. But once you see it clearly, you'll recognize it immediately in people you already know. And you'll wonder how you went this long without doing it yourself. You're still here. And I want to say something directly, not as a script line, but as something true. The fact that you've stayed through 6 habits, taken notes or made mental ones, and kept watching when you could have stopped, that is itself one of the signs. That is what the people who always have money do. They finish what they start. They follow through when it gets less exciting. Comment money anchor below if that's you. The kind of person who anchors down when everyone else drifts. One habit left, and this one is the reason all the others work. The people who always have money aren't the ones who earn the most. Some of them earn remarkably ordinary amounts. What they share, the thing that runs underneath every habit, every decision, every quiet choice that separates them from everyone else, is that at some point they decided what enough looks like. Not as a vague aspiration, as a specific, written, honest number. And once they had that number, everything changed. Because you cannot build towards something you haven't defined. And without a definition, the target keeps moving, just far enough ahead that you can never quite reach it, no matter how hard you run. Most people have never done this, not really. They have a feeling about what they want. Security, comfort, the ability to stop worrying, but they've never translated that feeling into an actual number. And so they chase it indefinitely. The income goes up, the feeling doesn't change, and the conclusion drawn is that the number just needs to be higher. Then higher again. The chase feels like ambition, it feels like a drive. But underneath it, quietly, is a trap. Because a moving target can never be hit. And a life spent chasing a moving target is exhausting in a way that accumulates slowly until one day it just feels like the way things are. I want to tell you about Harold. Harold was 53 years old when the 2008 recession arrived. He worked as an assembly line supervisor at a manufacturing plant in Ohio. The same plant, more or less the same position, for 19 years. He made a salary that was solid without being remarkable. He lived in a house that was paid for. He drove a truck that was 8 years old. He had no investment portfolio that would impress anyone. When the layoffs came that fall, and they came hard across his entire industry, Harold kept his job. But he watched colleagues he'd worked alongside for years walk out of the building with boxes. He watched men his age suddenly unsure of everything they'd counted on. And what struck him most, he said later, wasn't the fear on their faces. It was the surprise. They hadn't seen it coming, not because the signs weren't there, but because they'd never had a plan that accounted for the possibility. Harold had made his plan 9 years earlier, in 1999, sitting at his kitchen table on a Sunday night with a yellow legal pad. He was 44 years old, and his youngest child had just started high school. He wrote down a number, not a dream, a number. The amount his household needed every month to cover everything that mattered, the mortgage until it was gone, the utilities, the food, the medical, and the modest vacations his family took once a year. He added a buffer. He wrote down what his pension would provide at 62. He subtracted. The gap between where he was and where he needed to be was specific and real and smaller than he'd expected. And from that night forward, every financial decision he made was measured against that number. not against what his coworkers were buying, not against what the commercials said he deserved, against his number. By 2008, Harold's house was paid off. His truck was paid off. He had enough in savings to live 14 months without a paycheck. When the recession came, it came to everyone, but it arrived at Harold's door and found nothing to take. He told his wife that week that he felt almost guilty about how little had changed. She reminded him that nothing had changed because of every small decision they'd made together for 9 years that had felt like nothing at the time. Before this week is over, sit down with a piece of paper, not a spreadsheet, not an app, just paper, and write down your number. What does your household actually need every month to cover everything that genuinely matters? Not the ideal life. The real one. The one where the bills are paid, the basics are covered, there's a little room for what makes life feel like a life, and nothing is borrowed against tomorrow. Then write down what you currently have coming in and what you currently have saved. The gap between those numbers is your actual project, not an abstract goal, a specific distance with a specific destination. You can build toward something you can see. You cannot build toward a feeling. People without a number chase forever. People with a number build toward something real. 7 habits. Each one simple. Together, recession-proof. Pick one of these 7, just one, and make a decision right now that it's what you're working on this week. Not all 7. 1. Write it down before this video ends, because the moment you close this tab, the pull of everything else gets louder. And the distance between watching a video and actually changing something is exactly where good intentions go to disappear. If this landed for you today, comment recession-proof below. It helps more people find this conversation, and it's a small act of deciding that you're done just watching and starting to actually move. And if you want to understand why the people who build the most also tend to be the most careful about where their time goes, that's what we're getting into next. Because it turns out that how you spend your hours and how you spend your money follow the exact same patterns. And most people have never noticed the connection. Remember Harold, the assembly line supervisor from Ohio who drove an 8-year-old truck and sat at his kitchen table at 44 with a yellow legal pad and wrote down a number. He didn't have a financial advisor. He didn't have a complex strategy. He just decided, quietly, specifically, on a Sunday night when nobody was watching, what enough looked like. And then he built toward it, one decision at a time, for 9 years. Until the recession came and found nothing at his door worth taking. Wealth without a plan is luck. Wealth with a plan is quiet, patient, and nearly impossible to shake. Build the plan, work the plan, and let everyone else be surprised when the storm passes and you're still standing.